What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to basketball, and more importantly, welcome back to Ideal Offseason. This is a series where I put the GM cap on for a little bit and help a team navigate through their offseason. Now, we try to make this series as realistic as possible, we're going to take a look at each team's individual needs and see what they need to kind of help push them forward into the future. If you're the Washington Wizards, you're obviously not a very good team, but you got some young players. You're trying to build upon them. I'm going to help you do that. If you're the Lakers and you got Luka and LeBron, well, you're trying to win a title, so I'm going to help you do that as well. And today, we've got the ever problematic but always fun Charlotte Hornets, who I will say I have hope for them for the first time in a very, very long time, and I'll talk about why later in this video. But we're going to be taking a look at their roster, their salary cap situation, what kind of assets they're working with. We'll make realistic trades, go through a mock draft, go through free agency using realistic numbers and scenarios, all to better help the Charlotte Hornets going forward. But before we go and do that, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment on my YouTube channel up to this point, and I intend to keep on doing so. There's plenty of other ideal off seasons for you to watch. It's by far and away the most popular series on my channel. We have grown so much as a channel as of late, so thank you to all of you. You know, we passed 6,000 subscribers. We grew 20% of the channel in like a week. We passed 1 million views, 100,000 watch hours, a whole bunch of things. So seriously, I appreciate you guys for tuning in to all of this. Plenty of other content to go watch, like the Do They Fit in the NBA series videos, but for right now, let's talk about the Hornets. And that brings us back here to the ideal offseason spreadsheet. This is a spreadsheet that I built and put together just to kind of help articulate and visualize the story that is ideal offseason. I build a lot of spreadsheets on this channel, and just a quick plug, if you want access to the spreadsheet, you can get it. Just go down into the description of this video. You'll see a link to join my Discord. It's free to hop on there. And then you go over to the announcements channel, and there's a download link there to download the spreadsheet, also completely free. I encourage you to use it. Post what you make on Discord and just have a good time, start some conversations. But the Charlotte Hornets. This is an honest space, right? We always try to be really honest with these videos. The Charlotte Hornets are one of those teams that is highly regarded as one of the kind of the poverty franchises in the NBA. They're just never good. They're often very poorly run. They don't make a lot of moves that make a lot of sense, and just is what it is. The Hornets, though, recently came under new ownership, and new ownership is when things can start to change, right? Just look at like the Washington Commanders, right? Like how much a new owner and bringing in people that can instill a good culture can make in a year, and we hope that that continues for them, right? It can make a huge difference. I'm not much of a football guy, but I've heard enough about it from people that I know in the NFL, and they're like, oh, they kind of talk about culture and stuff the way you do, which I was like, oh, thank you for thinking of me, or whatever. But anyway, last year, this new Hornets regime comes in a really awkward time where they're kind of in the middle of a rebuild already. Like, they didn't draft a lot of these guys, but they have them, and they're interesting pieces, but they didn't specifically draft them, right? So they're not their guys per se. But I saw the Hornets make a string of just like good basketball moves in a row, which I was like, this is really interesting. These are things that good organizations do, right? One of those things was, and I want to make sure I hit on a lot of these, it's a small one, but they brought in a guy like a Taj Gibson. Taj Gibson was on like the end of the bench all last season or whatever, and they were like, hey, we just need you to kind of like be the Udonis Haslem of this team, right? They understood, hey, to maximize the young talent that we have on this team, we need guys like that on the team. They made a bunch of like really small trades, whether it be like the Nick Richards one, bringing in Josh Okogie to be just like a big energy guy or whatever, and trying to trade Mark Williams in a sneaky way, which again, we'll talk about that move in particular, but overall, like they made a bunch of little moves. Like they didn't commit anything too big. They've acquired a bunch of assets going forward, and they seem like they tried to clean things up a lot because there's just a lot of problem people on the roster for a while, and there still is, but we'll get there, don't worry. So I'm just saying I have hope for the first time ever. I'm never gonna believe completely until we actually see something happen, but I have hope for the first time ever. I actually don't know really anyone within this organization, so I don't get to hear too much about it. So anyway, let's start talking about the roster, and then we'll dive into like salary cap, draft picks, and strategy that we're gonna use for this video. First things first, what are these numbers over here, AVC, if you're new to the video, which I believe about 65 to 70% of you typically are on these videos? These are EPM numbers. EPM stands for estimated plus minus. It's this really, really advanced statistic that we have in basketball that basically gives us a numeric value as to how good somebody is at offense, defense, and then just overall as a basketball player. I then take those numbers and index them so we can get a 0 to 100 score comparing them versus everyone else. So LaMelo Ball is the 98.3rd percentile at offense in the NBA, meaning he's one of the best. 100 would be the best, 0 would be the worst right here. And you'll see there's some red on this roster. It wasn't a very good team last year, right? It wasn't a very good season. They had some fun points, but I thought they did, overall, they did all right. I always say with statistics, they never tell the complete story. They tell a story about things, and there's always missing context to statistics, so you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. Not a grain of salt per se, but you guys know what I mean, right? It never tells everything, so I just always say be a little bit cautious with statistics, but this is one of the best that we have, so I like to put it on the screen. Starting off at the top, LaMelo Ball. We all know that this guy is like awesome offensively, even though he had a pretty shitty like efficiency season last year, and it's so hard with a guy like this, right? Because he's so creative. There's not really another guy like him in the NBA. He's so talented. He's really smart for being kind of a goofball off the court. Defense, not quite there. I think he's actually a pretty smart defender. I just don't think he puts in a ton of effort on that side of the court. But overall, really talented player. The injuries are starting to become a little bit questionable, and I think you have to worry about the maturity a little bit with this guy. I said at the end of this last season, I'm cool with having the LaMelo Ball trade talks now. Like, I'm down to listen to them. I'm not saying you should do it, and we're not going to do it in this video, just letting you in on that. I'm not trading LaMelo Ball, but I understand why you might want to start having the conversation. So I understand it, but extremely talented. You just don't give up on guys like this. Miles Bridges, a player that started off pretty rough this last season and then really picked it up at the end of last season. He had like a huge spike at the end of the year, and part of that's March and April basketball, and look, there was no one else on the team, and he was like, fuck it, I'm just going to do my own thing, right? There's no Brandon Miller or LaMelo at that point, so he's just going and doing his things. He's an extremely talented basketball player. I will continue to say, and I'll keep this one brief because we touched on it more last season, very problematic person off the court. You can look into the things he did. I don't need to explain it here, and I've unfortunately heard more details than I think the public has, just because I'm in the industry, right? And so I get to hear those things. I had a lot of people try to defend him in the comments last year, and that's not good. Don't do stuff like that. Don't defend the stuff that he's done. We hope that he becomes a better person, or whatever we really do. But I will just hide you instantly in the comments if you try to put some nonsense like that in there. It's just, nope, you probably won't even get a response from me. You're just going to end up hidden. So know that that's the case. But anyway, Miles Bridges is really talented. I'm not sure that culture-wise I want to keep him around still. If I'm doing an ideal offseason, I'd like to move him. And I actually have like an idea coming into this video of a move I want to make that he'd actually be perfect for. So I promise you I'm not just like giving him away in this video, but I am going to try to move him. Yusuf Nurkic, a guy that we got in a trade at one point this last year. Dude was having a rough season with Phoenix. A rough season. And it did pick up a lot more once he got to Charlotte. It still wasn't great overall defensively, put up some solid numbers. Like, he's not making huge defensive plays ever, but he's typically a pretty solid like player overall on that side of the court. The season before, he was like really good defensively for Phoenix. So kind of a whatever thing. He's not a part of the long-term plans, but there's 1 year left and we're not a contending team anyway, so is what it is. Grant Williams coming off an unfortunate injury. I really liked the energy that he brought. I was glad they went after a guy like Grant Williams last offseason. Was it the offseason or was it before? I can't actually remember. I think it might have been before. Like, it was the middle of the previous year. They traded PJ Washington for him. But I like the energy he plays. He seems like he took kind of a leadership role on this team. That's the kind of guy you want in a franchise that's just had a bunch of bad apples, right? And you haven't really been able to put consistent, like, culture and basketball on the court for a while. I like ads like him, so don't look at his numbers too much. He was hurt most of last year. Josh Green never quite really got going last year offensively. Like, he shot like well from the field and stuff, but you can tell like in the system when LaMelo wasn't on the court, he couldn't really get anything going because he doesn't create his own shot. Defensively, he's still solid. He moves around like an Energizer Bunny. Cool player. Brandon Miller unfortunately got hurt. I like Brandon Miller a lot, especially on the offensive end. I think he does a lot of cool things. I know we all wish that he was a better finisher at the rim, but look, he's young. It's okay. It's not a big deal. Yeah, and the ball handling could be a little bit better, but we can criticize everybody for everything. He just finished his second year. He was hurt for a lot of it. Absolutely lethal shooter when he's out there. I love what him and LaMelo are able to do together. And defensively, I thought he took some good strides last season. So Let's hope he comes back healthy this next year and ready to go. We got the team option. We're keeping him around. To John Salon, he was who I said in this last draft class had the highest ceiling, and I still kind of stand by that. I think he's an incredibly talented individual. We expected him to be rough coming in this season, and he was. He actually started out the season pretty interestingly. He was like hitting shots, and I was like, whoa, like I didn't expect you to like hit this many shots right away. I didn't really think that part of your game was ready, and it doesn't look ready. And then it completely fell off. So 5th percentile offensively, 36th percentile defensively. That feels pretty accurate for this season, but don't give up on him. Everybody knew coming in, if you paid any attention like at all, that this guy was going to be a project. He wasn't going to be ready day one. He's an extremely talented physical specimen. So give him some time. I hope we can get him on the court a little bit more this year. Josh Okogie, I loved this addition last year. He's got a non-guaranteed contract. Well, I'm guaranteeing it right here. When he joined this team, man, did he take a jump, and he stayed like at that level. The energy he played with was awesome. Yes, he missed a lot of open layups and had some funny moments on the team, but like the defense was amazing. Like it was a good energy for the team, like hustle, like heart, things like that. I love it. And like offensively, he did figure some things out. So nice, valuable player on the team. Mark Williams. Oh, was this one ever spicy? So Mark Williams got traded, if y'all missed it last year, to the Lakers. And then the Lakers basically, so here's what happens, right? A little inside look with AVC. Like, I presume you guys kind of know how this works, but a lot of times in trades, teams will put an injury provision in these contracts, and what will happen is they go through these physicals or whatever, and they go through like kind of a ring of doctors that kind of evaluate their body to say like, hey, like how do they look? Do we see any concerns here with longevity and stuff? And basically all the doctors flagged him and said like, dude, like his back and knees are bad, and that doesn't mean like he's just gonna crumble and fall apart instantly. He might never, but they're basically saying we have a very strong belief that this will happen to him, unfortunately. And the Lakers called the Hornets back, and they're like, what do you mean? You guys told us he was healthy or whatever. And the Hornets were like, he is healthy. I don't know what you're talking about. The Hornets would not have traded him if they didn't know that already, right? And while that is a slimy thing to do, I like that they got a little slimy. Like the Hornets were trying to be advantageous. That's what this business is behind closed doors. Like it's just kind of what it is. You have to be advantageous, and they saw this guy that is very, very talented, like offensively, and he should be talented defensively. You're going to look at this number and be like, AVC, 7th percentile defensively for an athletic, like 7'1" dude with a longer standing reach than Wemby? How? It's because his effort was one of, if not the worst in the NBA last season. As soon as LaMelo went down, his numbers tanked completely. Every single like game, it felt like the Hornets announcer was just being like, what is Mark doing out there? It was really, really interesting to watch. And then after the trade got rescinded and he got sent back again, I don't blame the Hornets at all for trying to move on from him. The effort kicked up quite a bit. He was like 1st percentile at one point. So he kicked it up a notch. He played a lot better at the end of the season. Let's hope that we can carry that momentum in. There is a chance that I try to trade him in this video because it might just be a little bit awkward now after all's said and done. I think it's kind of hard to not go back on stuff like that. So we'll see. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do because he's still young and talented and he fits well with LaMelo. And he did play well when LaMelo was on the court last year. Nick Smith Jr., team option. I'm going to accept it because why not? Not the most productive player this last season. I always say he's kind of one of those guys that he's modern, young basketball player that doesn't actually know what the hell he's doing out there, but he is talented, so sometimes good things happen, but feels like 80 to 90% of the time it's just kind of nonsense he's doing out there. So not the biggest fan of him, but again, he's talented, so maybe someone can teach him. But for right now, he is what he is. Daquan Jeffries, non-guaranteed deal, not that high impact of a guy. I don't see a ton of potential here. I'm going to be letting him go and opening up a roster spot and a little bit of salary cap space. And then the boy, Musa. I never know how to say his name. Is it Diabate? I don't know. I don't remember. I like this kid a lot. A lot of energy. This team was desperate for centers at point last year. He's kind of more of a forward that they can throw into a center spot when they need to because he's long and really athletic, plays with a ton of energy. He's going to get you a shit ton of rebounds, block you some shots. Not going to do much else out on the court. Not really going to do much else, which that's fine. I like it. Again, I want hungry, like energetic people on this team. We need to start correcting the culture of this team because it's just been bad for so long. He's got a non-guaranteed deal. I'm guaranteeing his deal. I want him back. I want hungry, energy-driven dudes on this team. I'd love to see like a defensive force in the Hornets next year. Moving on to salary cap, basically 4 levels to the NBA salary cap for those of you that are new. If you want like a more in-depth explanation, as I always say, go watch my Phoenix Suns video right here. It was the first video in this series, so I went into a lot more depth as to how these work. But here's your brief overview. The salary cap line right here, we are actually $6 million above it right now. Once this were to hit 0, then we would be over the cap, meaning you can only re-sign your own players to anything more than a minimum contract. So we actually could sign someone for like $6 million right now that was on a different team last season. The luxury tax line, we're $39 million away from that. Once you cross that line, your team gets way more expensive to run. We've talked about it a lot in other videos. It's something a lot of teams are trying to avoid right now. We should be ducking the luxury tax. There's no need for this team to be like a luxury tax team next year. There just isn't. The next thing, we have the first and second apron. These are newer things that the NBA put in to try to stop star players from being moved quite so much. Basically what happens is once you get a really good team, meaning you have a bunch of expensive players on it, the NBA kind of locks you down. They say, hey, you can't do this anymore. You can't trade this player. You can't sign for this. You can't do this. The only way you can go from here is down. You got to start selling off talent, and that's what kind of the Celtics and Cavs have to do a bit of this offseason. So we're going to be nowhere near that. We're not that good of a team, but now you know how they work. Again, we're going to be staying below the luxury tax in this video. Draft pick wise, this team's been doing a really good job of acquiring draft picks going forward. We have a couple this year. We didn't do like phenomenal in the lottery, but we got the 4th pick in a class that's seen as having a top 4 of really, really elite prospects. And then it's still good after that, but this is where you want to be, right? We hoped for higher, but we'll take 4. There's a really good player we're going to be able to take at 4, and I've got a plan to make sure that he works out because we don't want to waste this opportunity. We also have 2 high second-round picks where we can get some talented people. We've got some draft picks going forward, which are really exciting. We have like 3 first-round picks potentially in 27. This team's in a pretty good spot overall for like a rebuilding team. They've got some interesting talent. They've got draft picks. They've got cap space. This is a pretty good spot. And actually, like a lot more cap space is going to open up when like Nurkic and like a Kogi are off this next year. So overall, pretty solid spot with this team. So here's the strategy that I want to implement going into this video. Culture. I know it seems stupid, and I know, but trust me, as someone that's worked in this industry and had a pretty good amount of success, like just go listen to like some NBA players podcasts talk about like how much like the culture matters and getting in vets and certain people like this. We need to hit that hard this season because we've got some talent on here that needs to like get some help and be actualized, right? So I've got a particular deal in mind that I'm going to try to execute on in this video that might seem a little bit weird at first, but I promise you, I mean the best by it, and I think it's going to be really beneficial for this team to go and do it. So we're going to be making a deal to try to kind of help lead this team. Like, we got to get a leader on this team, and so I'm going to make a deal surrounding that. Someone to kind of help push our young guys forward. Also, I think you guys know who we're going to take with the 4th overall pick right here. I need to get him somebody to aspire to be, someone to teach him. It's just an important thing that we need to do. Goals for this team. I want this team to be competitive next year. The East is not going to be that great next year again. And this team hasn't had like any success for a while. I want this team like in a play-in spot next year. I think we've got enough talent to do so. Obviously, injuries are going to be a big part of that with Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball, et cetera, Mark Williams as well. But if this team stays healthy, they should be competitive. And if they can't stay healthy next year, well, then it's probably time to move on from some of these guys anyway, right? Because if they can't stay healthy, then it just is what it is. But overall, I want this team to be competitive next year. I'm not going all in on things, but I want them to be competitive. So with that being said, let's move on to the trade portion of the video. And that brings us back here to Fanspo. Fanspo, if you're new to the channel, it's this pretty cool website that we use to do like trade simulations, a mock draft, all this other fun stuff. They have a bunch of cool resource and stuff that you should go and play with in your free time. I'm not sponsored by them. I just think it's a cool website. Did you right there? Did you just skip the last like 15 to 18 minutes of this video? Guess what? Your mom's a hoe, and she made me a toaster strudel this morning. What does that mean? I don't know. I'm just saying. Your Nana was there too. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what happened. That's for you to figure out. Don't skip that part of the video. I know that about 55% of you do. It used to be 65. Now that I've been insulting your mamas and nanas, you've been going back and watching it. I've got important information there. We're talking strategy. It's not all just about the players. We're talking about what are the goals for this video. You need it for the whole story. But anyway, now that I've insulted your mamas and nanas enough, I love doing that in the video. How many roster spots do we have available? Because we need to know that before going in and doing some trades, right? We have 4 roster spots available right now, but we've got some free agents, and one that is particularly important to this team. It's Trey Mann right here. Trey Mann is a restricted free agent that has been kind of balling out quietly for this team, but he went and got hurt really early on last season. And here's my thing. I think that's an opportunity for us to lock him up to kind of a cheap long-term deal and kind of swing for the upside in him. I think that this guy, like, if given the opportunity, could get you like 16, 17 points per game in the NBA, be an okay enough defensive player, and maybe play make a little bit. He's kind of a perfect other guard next to LaMelo Ball at times, because maybe he can guard the primary point guard because he's a little bit smaller, but he can kind of play either guard position. I like him a ton, so we need to save room for Trey Mann on this team, so we are going to put Trey Mann right there. Cool. Again, don't worry about the numbers too much. He just didn't play much last year. I'm going to put Trey Mann here for now. Don't worry about the depth chart too much. It is what it is. Seth Curry and Taj Gibson, great vets for this team if we need guys like that on this team, because like we said, culture is going to be important. Down to bring him back. I believe Seth Curry was the leader in three-point percentage last year. He didn't take quite enough shots to probably qualify for it under most standards, but I believe he shot like 46% from 3 or something last season, which, you know, that's pretty typical for him. Taj might just retire after the season, but we'll see. Maybe we want vets like that back. So we have 3 open roster spots. We have 3 draft picks, which means we either need to take less players back or an equal amount in order to make that work, right? So I told you guys I have a trade in mind. And again, I want to be very clear about this, like, because there's a stigma about this player that I'm pulling up right now that plays for the Phoenix Suns that is a little bit unfair, and it's Mr. Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal is in an interesting spot. Now, don't click off the video. Relax. Fucking relax. I'm looking at you, John. Fuck's sake, John. Anyway, John's freaking out right now with his bowl of cereal, like on his lunch break or something. I don't know why you have a bowl of cereal at your lunch break. Anyway, Bradley Beal is an objectively good basketball player. He is. Like, I think like any common sense person can understand that. The numbers are good last season. He makes a shit ton of money, and he's just not going to be picked up by a contending team at this point, right? Because the level of production that you get out of Bradley Beal at this point is not worth the $50 million. For a team like us, where we have some cap space and we need some leadership on this team, a guy that's really even-keeled, he is a leader, right? Like, he's been an elite player in this league for a long time. That's the kind of guy we need on this team, somebody to guide all these other young players. It's going to elevate our young players if we can bring in a guy like this. And I've got ways to make it happen. Now, you might be saying, AVC, Bradley Beal has a no trade clause. You're damn right about that. And in my world right now, I know that Kevin Durant almost certainly off this team, right? They're going to be gutting a bunch of other things because they need to get off of a bunch of salary, right? Suns aren't going to be very good next year. It's probably in his best interest to go somewhere else where he can at least be a little bit more valuable. And the only teams I can even think of that might take him on are teams that would be kind of willing to buy him, if you would. And that's maybe the Jazz and like us, right? That's probably it. And I'm down to throw Bradley Beal on the court next season. Like, he'll help us win some games. He won't help us win too many games, though, to where it's like, okay, it's whatever. And honestly, if we made a playoff spot, cool, I don't even care, right? But he's going to be a leader for this group. He's going to be valuable. And you know what? To those of you that are already typing in the fucking comments, like, let's just look at some numbers, because I know you don't have a good argument for why Bradley Beal isn't good. Let's pull up the EPM numbers. Let's take a look at his actual, like, plus minus right here. Look at this. He's like right at league average and above even at times. Like, he's doing fine. And then you look at the shooting right here. Take a look at this. He's way above league average for everything shooting wise, right? Like, it's, and look, just look at this last season. It was better than a lot of his other seasons. Like, Bradley Beal is still a good basketball player. 38% from 3 this last year. Like, he's good at the rim. Like, you look at the plus minus of him. Overall, good basketball player. Like, 18, 19, 20 points a game of efficiency. Good leader. Sign me up for that right away. So, now that I've explained this enough, and I know I'm going to still get some stupid comments, and I'm just probably going to tell you it's a stupid comment, Miles Bridges is the first one that probably needs to go, right? I'm okay with getting him off the team for a multitude of reasons. Again, don't need to go into it any further, but Miles Bridges can at least help them play some basketball right away. You might have to talk them into a guy like that, but if they can get off of Beal, they're probably cool with it. So Bradley Beal's coming back here. That's the starting point. There needs to be more, though. Josh Green or Grant Williams, one of you probably has to go, and there's probably going to be some others. Oh, yeah, Daquan Jeffries. You got modified, so I'm waiving you for a specific amount. It's nothing. You're no longer on the team because your contract wasn't guaranteed. There you go. And as far as, like, cap holds go, I'm not too worried about, like, these. It's whatever. Okay, so Between Grant Williams and Josh Green, I'm looking at this team, right? And with Miles Bridges gone and Bradley Beal coming in, I think I'd rather get rid of Josh Green. I like the leadership that Grant was kind of bringing to the locker room and stuff too. That is one thing I heard from people is they're like Grant is like taking over like this locker room at times, which I think is cool. I'd rather keep Grant. I know he just got hurt, but I can send them Josh. Like Josh would be a valuable enough player to them to try to stay competitive. Cool. We're still far away from a deal, right? And yeah, we are. We need to cut another $5 million from us, and they're going to need to send some more people out because they were a second apron team, most likely. So this is where we bring in the Brooklyn Nets whenever we need to dump salary somewhere. This is where I haven't gotten this far in my head about how I'm going to actually do this. Cody Martin. You don't need Cody Martin on your team. He's on a non-guaranteed deal, I'm pretty sure. And you don't have to guarantee a deal before you trade him. So we can send him over to the Nets in this move. The Nets can just like waive him or whatever. But we have to send out like an equal amount of players, right? Because they're a second apron team. So we need to do something like that. Right? Or no, you can't combine two players and get one back. So that might be unnecessary. Let me just see this quick, because what did we flag here? We just need to cut $5 million more from this. But who else am I willing to give? Actually, we might need to guarantee Daquan Jeffries, now that I think about it, to send over like the $5 million necessary. So we can send over Nick Smith Jr. to the Suns. Interesting young guard. They need someone that can dribble the basketball anyway. And Daquan Jeffries, he's non-guaranteed again. They can just cut him. So, again, this probably doesn't just work on itself. It does. Interesting. We could probably help the Suns cut more salary cap space with this, though, couldn't we? Let me think about this for a second. Do we even need the Nets? I guess we really don't actually need the Nets. I figured, like, math-wise, you would need to. And if they wanted to get rid of Cody Martin, then to save more money, they could still just dump him somewhere else and maybe pick up, like, a second-round pick. The question now is going to be, like, are there any picks that need to be involved with this? And again, they probably just cut Jeffries or something like that. Nick Smith they can use. He's an interesting young player. They get Miles Bridges, who can play good basketball, right? Josh Green. It'd probably be good for Miles Bridges just to get a change of scenery anyway. I don't think any picks need to be involved in this. I think the Suns are probably just happy to get off of Beal, save a shit ton of money. We'll take on Bradley Beal. We open up quite a few roster spots by doing this as well. I'm pretty happy with this, actually. I'm really thrilled about this. So this is now Bradley Beal. And look, I know the salary cap implication and everything. Don't worry. Take a look. Josh Green's no longer here, right? Nick Smith Jr. is no longer here. We still have $27 million before we hit the luxury tax. This is perfect. So Miles Bridges, you're now Mr. Grant Williams here, and you're now Mr. Bradley Beal. I can move these guys kind of up the depth chart. And again, do whatever you want with the depth chart. But this will give this team at least some competitiveness right away. Like, this is a solid lineup right here overall, if everybody stays healthy. And now you might be saying, AVC, are you starting Bradley Beal over the guy that you're going to be taking with this 4th overall pick? Probably to start. Yeah, probably to start. And I don't think that's such a bad thing to make your young guy kind of work for it a little bit, right? He's going to get to learn from a guy like Bradley Beal, and that is going to be so helpful for him. I just promise you so much. If you think opposite, just please, as someone that's been in it and been through it, please believe me. Bradley Beal, going to be a nice guy to have with this team. Bring a little bit of shooting, bring some leadership. I'm really happy with this. I'm really, really happy with this. Do we want to trade Mark Williams now? Given that I don't know the situation of Mark Williams very well and where he's currently standing at, I just don't have insight into that. I normally have a lot of insight on things, but this organization is pretty closed-mouthed now that they're pretty new and everything. So I just haven't heard much about where he's currently at with things. I'd like to keep Mark Williams if we can make it work, right? Because he is really talented. The injuries are a little bit scary, but I like he just fits so well next to LaMelo. I'd like to at least give him a chance. Maybe he's motivated coming in this next year, right? Like he was at the end of last season. I'm down for that. I really, really am. So I think I'm going to keep Mark Williams around. I think I'm cool with this. We have 5 open roster spots currently and 3 draft picks. I don't really need to do much else with this team. I don't think so. I want Josh Okogie back. I like Grant. We want to develop Salon a little bit. We want Musa on the team. This is cool. This is cool. Okay, let's head to the draft and let's find some people for this. And that brings us back here to the Fanspo mock draft simulator. The draft went not quite as expected. I could see something like this happening, honestly. I think it'll most likely be Harper going second, but is what it is. I'm not going to waste your guys' time. These are long videos in and of itself. VJ Edgecombe's the number 4 on here. This is the easiest draft pick out of the 3, right? In the sense that the Hornets just pick who's ever left, right? VJ Edgecombe, though, what do we like about him? First of all, just athlete to the moon, right? He's a 10.5 out of 10 on the athlete scale. The Thompson twins are the 11 out of 10, if you were curious. I love the athleticism. I love the drive and the energy that he plays with. He's a good shooter already, which is a weird misconception that people have that he's not a good shooter. He was a good shooter in high school. He was a good shooter in college, and he was a good shooter in the Olympics. So dude's shooting the basketball really, really well. He looks like a young Anthony Edwards in the way he moves, and I can confirm that his trainer does kind of train him in the same movements. So that's pretty cool. I think that's awesome. Defensively, while he doesn't know everything yet, which is what you expect out of a young freshman guard, makes a ton of defensive plays out of like effort and grit and just athleticism. Love this guy a ton as a prospect. We're going to take VJ Edgecombe with the 4th overall pick, and he is going to get to be mentored by Bradley Beal. I love that. So let's throw VJ right here. He is going to get about this much money over 4 seasons. Cool. We're going to throw you right there for now. I love it. Very, very happy with it. Simple draft pick. Now we move on, and we've got pick numbers 33 and 34. What else do we need for this team? Well, as I'm doing some quick math, right, we've got about $17 million in tax space left, right? Because we're trying to avoid the luxury tax if we can. We've got 4 roster spots left. These 2 guys are going to be really cheap, like 1 to just under $2 million a piece. So presumably we'll have about $14 million in cap space before we need to go sign Trey Mann, and then potentially one other guy. We don't have to fill the roster. I try to at times, but I think we can kind of make that work. So let's see who's available for us, because we could use one more big, because maybe Nurkic gets dumped at a certain point. I could take in like another point guard. That's probably useful for this team. I wouldn't mind getting like a veteran point guard to play with these 2, but I think between Beal and you got Nurkic on the team. I don't know how good of a vet he necessarily is. Again, I like what Grant's doing for the team. Yeah, we could probably use a little more veteran presence on the team, but we'll be fine. Ooh, Danny Wolf is still available. That's an interesting one. That is a really interesting one. Who else is here? Cam Jones, Kobe Brea. Ooh, you guys know we like some Kobe Brea. We kind of already took a guard here. But it wouldn't be the worst thing to have a little bit of shooting as well around LaMelo Ball, a guy that's used to coming off of screens and being a catch-and-shoot guy, because this team just hasn't really had a guy like that outside of Brandon Miller, and I'd like to have more on the team. I think it'd be great to pair with LaMelo Ball. The fact that Danny Wolf is still available, though, just kind of screams he should be here. Like, we don't have to play Nurkic as the backup big next year. It'd be cool to kind of have a spacing big for LaMelo to play off of as well for different looks. A guy that can put the ball on the floor a little bit, right? That can be a decent enough passer. Maybe run a little bit of hub stuff with. You could run a really creative offense with that. So let's do it, man. Let's take Danny Wolf with the 33rd pick. Danny Wolf. He's going to make about this much money for 4 years, and I'll throw him here for now, but do whatever you want with him lineup-wise. I just don't care. It's just for visualization right now. So we take Danny Wolf, and now we've got the next pick right here, who, again, I'd like to take somebody with this if I could. I see Hugo Gonzalez, Real Madrid player, nice athlete, can shoot the rock a little bit, good at playing without the basketball right now. More of a long-term project. Would we rather get somebody that's a little bit more mature, ready to go? We could go with a Cam Jones. We could go with a Kobe Brea. I know the meme on this channel is we take Kobe Brea all the time. Wouldn't hate it, though. We could take another, and he could play, like, either position, just be a shooter, so that, like, if people got hurt and we just needed someone to come in, we'd still have another shooter. I'm tempted. Dink Pate could be an interesting one, potential-wise. I like Grant Nelson, potential-wise. And by the way, like, Fanspo doesn't have, like, all the prospects on here, because there's other names I'd like to look at, but they just don't have them on here, which is a little bit frustrating. Let's do it, y'all. Let's take Kobe Brea with the last one. Let's do it. Let's bring in the shooting and the size. I like it. Side note with Kobe Brea, I got to witness one of his workouts. Man, dude works out hard. I love it. I love guys like that. We want dogs on the team. We putting dogs on the team. So there we go. Draft complete. We've used our 3 draft picks. This was really, really simple. You got 2 roster spots still left. We've got $13 million in cap. So this is where things get interesting, right? Let's move on to free agency and start talking about this. Free agency. Here we go. So Trey Mann, right? Again, good basketball player. We like what Trey Mann can do on the basketball court. I've seen him hit some big shots. We know he's crafty with the basketball. I've got on pretty good authority that dude's a pretty like hard-nosed worker, good dude and everything. Want guys like that on the team, right? And from the little bit we know about the Hornets organization, we know they value him pretty highly. We've heard things like that, like they were having conversations like, hey, LaMelo and Brandon Miller and Trey, like that's kind of our group right now. And it's like, wow, that's saying a lot that they kind of put him in the same group as them. And I agree. I think he's a really interesting prospect long term. He did just come off a big injury though, right before free agency. Hurts his stock a lot. So I don't think he's going to get like the 20-ish million that maybe he would have if he played the whole season like he was. So I think he's going to fall more into like the 12-ish million dollar range. I think he's going to just want the security after being hurt and everything, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Like dude, you did ball, but you are coming off a big injury. So can we just call it like 12.5? Can we call it 12.5 right here? And then 1, 2, 3 right here. I think what we do is we give you 3 years with a player option or something, because this is how you kind of incentivize him, right? It's like, dude, if you ball for the next 2 years or whatever, you're making good money, and you keep balling like the way you were, then we get you a new contract or something after that. You can opt out and go get a little bit more. But if you get hurt again, then you've at least solidified 3 years of like $12.5 million. I think that's awesome. So Trey Mann is there. Now, we're crouching up on the luxury tax space pretty quickly because we have a lot of like kind of like solid size contracts, if you would. Obviously, Bradley Beal taking up quite a bit of money. So now I need to move Nurkic, most likely. We got to go back to Fanspo, and we've got to find a way to trade Nurkic. So maybe this is where the Brooklyn Nets can come in for us, or some other team that we can salary dump him to, because while a lot of teams need support at the center role, most teams can't afford to pay $19 million, right? So I need to get a little bit creative with this. Who's a team that we could dump him to? There is a team like the Bulls. Bulls have some cap space as well. Why would they need Nurkic? Well, they might be trading Vucevic for some other things, and they might need another center on the roster. They have Jalen Smith. They have Zach Collins. They might be able to afford to take him on as well. Is there like a bad contract we could take from them? Not necessarily, not unless it's like Vucevic or Zach Collins. But again, like I need to free up more money than that. So I could take like a Kevin Huerter or something off their hands, but I don't know why they'd want Nurkic over Huerter. So I'm not sure we're going to be able to make something work with them. I feel like we're going to have to pay a team to take him more so like the Brooklyn Nets. But maybe you can convince the Bulls to take him. So let's play a hypothetical. Let's say they were able to move off of Vucevic. They probably took back some forwards and maybe like another like wing or something back. They got Zach Collins on the team for a year. It's kind of whatever. They've got Jalen Smith on there. Those are probably the two guys they're down to play. Having Nurkic on the team wouldn't be the worst thing for them, just to have another big. And they don't have like crazy draft capital either, so we could pay them to take him. Look, we're gonna have to pay someone to take him, right? Because I need to relieve the salary, and it's this is unfortunately a side effect of taking on Bradley Beal. In the sense that I have to trade someone on an expiring contract that normally wouldn't be a big deal for the level of team that we are this season, but I think we kind of have to now, and I'd rather just have Bradley Beal and hope that he's going to help make my younger players better, right? So I'm still down to do it, but we've got enough second round picks and stuff we can move, and maybe like a protected something else. I don't know. I don't really want to give up a first for them necessarily, but let's can we do it with the Bulls? Can we dance with them? The Bulls love their second round picks. They really do. How could we make this work? Do we just send him there just straight up and we take back somebody else that's cheap? We could go that way. I don't really know who that would be, though. Like, are they down with giving up a Javon Carter or something like that? I mean, I could use another guard like that, I suppose. Because Javon Carter just didn't even play last season. I like Javon Carter, too. I don't think the Bulls are going to play ball with us like this, so I think we got to find someone else. You could go to Washington and dump him there. They've got a couple other bigger salaries, though, that are kind of already taking up some space. You could look at the Jazz. You could look at the Pelicans. Could maybe use another big man. That's probably fair. Who would we take off their hands, though, is the question. Could we just pay them to? They don't have enough salary cap space to just take him on. I don't know why they would trade Kelly Olynyk for Nurkic. That doesn't make a ton of sense to me, so I say we move on from that one. Spurs could maybe use a backup center, and they've got the cap space. They've got plenty of draft picks already is the thing, but maybe they just want another center on the roster. I can tell you Spurs fans want another center on the roster, and it's just for 1 year, so it doesn't matter anyway, so who could we take off your team for that? Would you be willing to just give us like a Blake Wesley or something like that, and then we pay you with some other things? So let's do something like this where we send Nurkic over there. They get a backup center for Wemby. That's cool. I'll just take Blake Wesley back. We'd have to accept his team option, but it's whatever. It's for a year. We save a bunch of money. Send him back over here. Does that financially just work in and of itself? It actually fails. They need to cut 9.6 million. Oh, yeah. The 125% rule, right? Yeah, right. That's the issue we're running into. Or, excuse me, the 200% rule, because we're not teams like that. Well, would we take like a Branham or something too? No, it'd have to be somebody more expensive. So, that's becoming a little bit more tricky. So I need to find somebody that, let me do some quick math right here using Excel. So we take the 19 million here and divide that by 2 so that we could take back someone like $9.6 million-ish. So this is where I go through contracts then and say, okay, who's like a not so valuable contract that could also use a center in this? And it's got to be at least 9.6. Ooh, I'd love a Men Thompson, but we all know that that's not going to happen. Sam Hauser, no. Lonzo Ball is there. We could do a Yusuf Nurkic for Lonzo. Get Lonzo on this team with LaMelo. That would be pretty sick. But I don't think it's going to happen. Valanciunas in Sacramento, I doubt that. Mike Conley, that doesn't make sense. Wendell Carter, no. Isaac Okoro, that doesn't make any sense. Maxi Kleba. We could give him a center. You guys need a center. We could give you one, but they probably don't want one that expensive, and they probably don't want to necessarily talk to us right now. I always say, like, front offices are always willing to talk if there's the right thing available, but we did just try to scam that team recently, so they probably got to wait a little bit on that one. Brandon Clark? Potentially Brandon Clark. Potentially, because they could use a center. They have a little bit of cap space to work with. Rashawn Holmes. Let me look at that one really quick. Rashawn Holmes. Can we make something like that happen? I don't know. Again, we just kind of looked at the Wizards. They might not care because, again, they could probably use a few more assets as well. So Rashawn Holmes is a non-guaranteed deal, right? I believe he is. Can we confirm that quick? $250K guaranteed. So they would just be giving us Rashawn Holmes for the year. We would save quite a bit of money in doing this, but we would pay them to take him. Yeah, that's a move that they would make, right? I think so, because like how much room do they have before the cap anyway? They've got enough, so yeah, it's not a big deal. It's just $6 million more. They don't have to fill too much of their roster anyway. We send him back here. I'm down to have Rashawn Holmes on the team anyway. Like he's the kind of guy that could play off LaMelo solidly at least as well. We try this trade, that works. We need to obviously give them something for taking on the money this year, because they could just be like, we just cut Rashawn Holmes and not have to pay any of this, to which I say, yep, I get it, I understand. Where do these picks line up, and where would you like them to be? 2028, you have a couple of second round picks already. Where do I have a lot of them? I've got some 2029s I can give you. How you doing on the nines? You have 2 9s already. I feel like I'm talking like blackjack or something like that. Y'all ever play some spades or something with the unks back in the day, or is that just me? You show up to the table, play some spades with the unks? I got a couple that I used to do that with. Funny stuff back in the day. Let me figure out what picks I want to send over, and then I'll update you guys. I think I'm just going to ship out these 2031 picks right here. We have so many second rounders. They only have the one. So we'll send these their way because they don't want current assets right now. They want future ones. They actually probably have to push some more assets back anyway to keep them in optimal standing. So we send those over there to them. I think that's fine. They get a couple. They can even have ours just because they don't trust that we're ever going to be good. Right? So we send those over there. Try that trade. Cool. Everybody's happy. I don't even have to take them off the list right here because we didn't get to list all of them. So is what it is. We now have Mr. Rashawn Holmes on this team, and I can even move Danny Wolf up and move Rashawn Holmes there. So there you go. Nice and happy in this. And now we've got $6 million to work with. I'd like to go put some more vets on this team now. Let's go find a couple more vets through free agency. probably at the point guard spot and at the wing spot. I think that that's a good way for us to do this. This might be the longest free agency portion in a while. So guards, do we bring Seth Curry back? I think that that's probably fair. He was on the team last year. There's probably already some respect there. We know what he can do. The problem is 6.7 we have away from this. Somebody of Seth Curry is going to be 3.6, so we'd have to bring in somebody for like 3.1 million then, which means like 6 years or less. We could do something like that. That's fine. I'm cool with that. So yeah, let's bring back Seth. So Seth would get this much money. It's another shooter. It's not a big deal to bring in him and give him this much money. 1 year minimum. Go be a vet for this team. Cool. Seth, you're kind of more of a combo guard at this point in your career, but you can be there. Cool. Let's go find a veteran wing now. That's what I would like. Let's go find a forward. It's not going to be Taj Gibson now, so let's find a vet forward that we could bring in on a minimum contract. It's not like a Joe Ingles necessary. It's not Larry Nance, right? Who's it going to be? It can't be somebody too old. It's not Torian Prince. It's not Jay Crowder. Who am I thinking? Who would be a good vet for this team? It's not Torrey Craig, unless... How many years has Torrey Craig been in the league? It's got to be longer than I'm thinking, right? 7 years. How much space do I have left? 3.17. Oh, wow! We're bringing in Torrey Craig. Look at that. And your boy has just pulled off another financial masterpiece. And like, look, maybe all these numbers aren't like completely perfect or whatever, because there might be incentives or whatever. Fine, just like change it or don't sign Torrey Craig. It really doesn't matter that much. But anyway, this right here is your 2025-2026 Charlotte Hornets. Let's review what we just did. We are prioritizing growth and turning this franchise around. It has been a shithole for too long. We are trying to make them better. So we went out and we got leadership. We dumped some guys that we just don't think are good for the organization. That's fine. We brought in leadership. We're going to try to actually win some basketball games. You heard me say last year in ideal offseason with the Pistons, you got to win some games to win some games. This is us trying to win a couple games so we can get Mark Williams going, so we can get Brandon Miller going, so we can get LaMelo Ball and Trey Mann and Tajon Salon, all these interesting young players we have going. That's what we want. He's going to be able to help us out right away. We drafted someone that I think can be an all-NBA talent eventually in VJ Edgecombe. He's going to spend at least a year learning from Bradley Beal, and if after this year he doesn't want to be here anymore, totally reasonable, we'll buy him out. It's not a huge deal, right? We're not going to be that great anyway. He can still get some PT. Very good for him, right? VJ is going to be better because of it. We also got pretty lucky in the second round with Danny Wolf, a guy that's probably a first-round talent, and we took Kobe Brea because it's ideal off-season, and I actually think he'd be a good fit on this team. Then, in free agency, we brought Trey Mann back on a very team-friendly deal that should have a lot of upside, and we brought in some more vets to, again, we've kind of built that old Timberwolves roster where they had like a bunch of really old players and a bunch of really young guys. We've kind of constructed that here, and I'm pretty happy with it, all said and done. By the way, another thing we could do is like cut Rashawn Holmes, and we could save a bunch of money in this as well. But anyway, I'm happy with this. We got depth at each position. This should be at least a competitive team night in and night out, and hopefully we just have better energy and a better franchise going forward. But hey, let me know your comments down below. I'm excited to hear about them. I think this one turned out really good, so I'm happy with it. But anyway, let's move on to the comments of the video. Alrighty, y'all. Comment of the video is coming from our Washington Wizards ideal off-season video. This is one of the better comments we've had in a long time, so I'm excited to see this. But anyway, go watch the other ideal off-seasons. This one got a ton of upvotes, and people were saying like this has got to be comment of the video. It comes from George Hickinson 3407, who said, "A wise man once said, statistics are like bikinis. What they show you is interesting. However, what they don't show you is equally as interesting." Absolute bars, truth. You're a philosopher. You're the smartest guy on this channel. So there you go. We all praise George. I love this comment. It's a perfect talk about like our EPM numbers and everything. Absolutely fire comment. Thank you. More comments like this. And we've actually had a lot of fire comments recently on this channel. So thank you guys for that. I wish I could highlight all of them, but only one comment to the video, and you reign supreme. This might be the best comment yet. As always, if you want access to the ideal offseason spreadsheet, make sure you go to the description, click the Discord link right here. It's free. Go download it from the announcements channel there. It's also free. And as always, leave me a comment. I respond to every single one. As always, mind the rules of the comments as well. I'm trying to make this place better than the rest of the internet, and I can already tell Hornets fans, you guys are probably going to say some wild things because you guys normally do. So just be wary. I might end up hiding you or something because I'm trying to maintain my own culture here. So yeah, I appreciate it as always, y'all. I don't know when this video is going up at this point, but hopefully you guys are like enjoying the weekend or whatever's coming up at the time that you guys are seeing this. And yeah, we'll talk to you later. Thanks so much. Bye.